All right, so you guys sent us in some really interesting material for this deep dive.
Yeah.
A podcast episode script called No One Is Coming to Save You. It's on you.
Heavy stuff.
Yeah. And today, we're going to dig into this whole idea of radical self-reliance.
Yeah.
We're going to unpack it for you guys, see what we can find, see if it holds water.
I love it.
It's a pretty direct concept, even a little uncomfortable maybe.
Yeah.
But we think there's a powerful truth here.
Oh, yeah.
And it's one that could be really empowering if we let it.
Yeah, sure.
So right off the bat,
Yeah.
this script calls out what it calls a lie.
Hmm.
This sort of pervasive feeling that many of us have,
Oh, yeah.
that something or someone is eventually going to come and fix things for us.
Like a knight in shining armor.
Right, like we're just waiting for that breakthrough, that lucky turn of event.
The hero.
Exactly, the hero to swoop in and
Yeah.
save the day.
Right.
And it points out how this idea is kind of woven into the fabric of so many stories we consume.
It's true.
From fairy tales to movies. Like, we're constantly being shown this narrative of rescue.
Mm-hmm.
So from your perspective, what do you think makes this lie so sticky?
Well, you know, it's interesting because this idea that someone will come and save us, it's so deeply ingrained, even in societies that really value things like independence and self-reliance. And, you know, maybe it's because on some level it taps into this really basic human desire for connection, for support.
Right.
Like there's a certain comfort in believing we're not totally alone in facing our struggles.
Yeah, makes sense.
But the problem is that when this desire becomes kind of unbalanced, it can morph into this passive expectation.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it starts to hinder our own initiative.
Absolutely.
Think about how often you hear people say things like, oh, if only I had a mentor, or if only I won the lottery,
Yeah.
right? It subtly shifts the focus of control outside of ourselves.
Totally. It's like outsourcing our agency.
Exactly.
So after laying out this lie, the script then hits us with what it calls the harsh truth,
Oh.
which is no cavalry is coming. It goes through a whole list. Parents, bosses, the government partners, miracle cures, gurus, you name it.
Wow. Paints a pretty stark picture.
It does. It's blunt. But
Mm.
then it makes this interesting pivot.
Okay.
It suggests that this realization, while it might be jarring at first, can actually be incredibly liberating.
Okay, I'm listening.
So how do you see that shift in perspective actually playing out in someone's life?
Well, if we kind of zoom out and think about this in the context of personal growth, this moment of realization, oh, no one is coming to save me,
Yeah.
that can be a real turning point.
Right.
Because the disappointment of accepting that external salvation isn't guaranteed. It can become like this powerful catalyst for change.
I see what you mean.
It forces us to reevaluate where we're placing our energy and our expectations.
Yeah.
So instead of just waiting and hoping the focus shifts to our own agency, our own ability to make things happen.
It's like, yeah, you've been given the map and the compass.
Exactly.
You don't need someone to carry you there.
Right. You're in the driver's seat now.
Okay, so that brings us to the next big idea the script dives into.
Oh, okay.
Embracing radical responsibility.
Hmm.
It defines this as taking ownership of everything in your life. Relationships,
Mhm.
career, health, finances, the whole shebang.
Okay, so big picture stuff.
Huge picture stuff.
Mm.
Now, of course, the script acknowledges there are factors outside our control.
Right, like accidents.
Exactly. Things like past trauma, systemic injustices, unexpected illnesses.
Yeah, life happens.
It does. But the real focus here is on what we can control.
Makes sense.
Our response to those challenges, our mindset, and the choices we make moving forward.
So it's not about pretending we have control over everything.
Right.
It's about recognizing where our control actually lies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, where do you see people maybe unintentionally attributing outcomes solely to external forces in their own lives?
That's a great question, and it's a tricky one because it's so easy to fall into that trap of blaming external circumstances for our situation. But radical responsibility isn't about blaming yourself for things genuinely beyond your control. It's about owning your agency within those circumstances.
Right.
It's about asking yourself, okay, even with these limitations, what choices can I still make? What actions can I take to move in the direction I want to go?
So it's about finding that sliver of control, even in seemingly uncontrollable situations.
Exactly.
Now, the script makes this really important distinction.
Okay.
Responsibility isn't about assigning blame. It's about embracing ownership.
Mm.
And it argues that this sense of ownership is what actually unlocks a greater sense of freedom,
Oh, that's interesting.
because it's the shift from seeing yourself as a victim of circumstance to someone who's actively playing to win in their own life.
Yeah, I like that framing.
It's empowering.
It is. It's like taking back the reins.
Absolutely.
You know, the victim narrative, while sometimes it's rooted in real and painful experiences, it can become a very limiting framework.
Yeah, it can keep us stuck.
Exactly. It might provide a temporary comfort or explanation, but ultimately it often disempowers us. Ownership, on the other hand, puts you back in the driver's seat.
Right.
It acknowledges your ability to influence your own trajectory regardless of the challenges you faced.
Okay, so let's talk about this idea of the trap of victimhood.
Right.
The script really dives into why this mindset can be so appealing. You know, it offers a ready-made story, a seemingly valid reason to stay stuck, and even a shield from criticism.
Yeah, it's easy to get comfortable in that role.
Right. It throws out some common examples like blaming genetics for fitness levels.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that one.
Or citing a lack of time for pursuing entrepreneurial goals, or feeling held back by family obligations or past mistakes.
It's like a greatest hits of excuses.
Right. So any of those sound familiar?
Oh, absolutely. We've all probably dabbled in those excuses at some point.
Right. And the thing is, these explanations, while they might have a seed of truth to them, can easily become these huge, insurmountable barriers.
That's right.
And the script makes this really astute observation.
Okay.
There's a subtle comfort in these narratives. They absolve us of the need to take uncomfortable action or face potential failure.
Yeah, it's safer to stay stuck.
Right. But as the script points out, this comfort comes at a cost. The potential for future growth, for fulfillment, for self-respect.
Right, you're trading your future for a temporary sense of ease.
Exactly. And then the script throws out this really impactful line.
Okay.
The door was always open.
Wow.
That's a pretty direct challenge to the idea of being completely trapped by circumstances.
Yeah, it really is.
It's suggesting that even within those perceived limitations, there was always some degree of agency, some possibility, however small, for a different choice.
It's like saying you always had the key.
Exactly, and that can be a really uncomfortable insight.
It can.
Because it challenges that feeling of being utterly powerless.
Right.
But it also suggests that the barriers we perceive are often more internal than external. You know, our own fears, our beliefs, our hesitations.
Yeah, the bars of our own making.
And that open door, it represents that inherent potential for change that exists when we shift from a passive mindset to an active one.
Right. It's about realizing you have the power to unlock that door.
Okay, so we've talked about the lie, the harsh truth, and the trap of victimhood.
Yeah.
So if no one's coming to rescue us and we need to embrace this radical responsibility, where do we go from there?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right. And the script then shifts to this idea of unlocking our inner potential. It makes this bold statement that most of us have no clue how capable we truly are.
Yeah.
That there's a version of us just waiting to emerge who operates without excuses, who consistently shows up, takes initiative, creates, and achieves.
So it's about tapping into this hidden reservoir of power.
Exactly. What are your thoughts on this idea of untapped potential?
You know, I think there's a lot of truth to it. I really do.
Yeah.
But the script makes a crucial point. It's not about waiting for inspiration to strike.
Right.
Or feeling perfectly prepared. It's about engaging with life, experimenting, learning by doing.
So action is the key.
Absolutely.
And it also emphasizes that this potential isn't found in our comfort zones.
No.
It's found by pushing beyond those self-imposed limits, right? It's like that saying, growth lives outside the comfort zone.
Exactly.
So this whole concept of unlocking our potential, it really comes down to discipline, consistency, and brutal self-honesty.
Yeah, those are the pillars.
It's about choosing progress over perfection, prioritizing growth over ego, and opting for responsibility over making excuses.
It sounds like a constant, conscious effort.
It is. It's a practice, not a destination.
Right. You don't just arrive at self-mastery. You're constantly working on it.
Okay, so the script then lays out some practical steps.
Okay. I like actionable advice.
Concrete actions we can take to start owning our lives.
Let's hear it.
It outlines 6 key areas. The first one is stop blaming.
Straightforward and powerful.
Right. No more pointing fingers at external people or circumstances.
Yeah, because as long as we're focused on blaming external factors, we're giving away our power.
Exactly. We're handing over the reins.
Right.
So step 2 is audit your life. This means taking an honest look at key areas like our health, finances, relationships, and habits.
So it's a self-assessment.
Exactly. And identifying those areas where we might be slipping, coasting, or just not showing up fully.
That can be tough.
It requires vulnerability and honesty with ourselves.
Yeah.
It's about seeing the gap between where we are and where we want to be, without judgment, but with a focus on identifying areas for growth.
Okay, makes sense.
So step 3 is build discipline. The emphasis here is on establishing routines and showing up consistently, even when motivation is MIA.
The dreaded motivation dip.
Right, because motivation comes and goes. It's fleeting.
It is.
But discipline, that's the reliable foundation we can build on.
Yeah, discipline is the key to consistency.
It is.
And consistency builds momentum.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, step 4 is upgrade your environment.
Okay.
This is about consciously removing negative influences from our lives and surrounding ourselves with people who are proactive, supportive, and aligned with our goals.
So it's about who you let into your inner circle.
Exactly, because we become like the people we spend the most time with.
That's so true.
So it's about creating a positive feedback loop,
right.
Surrounding ourselves with people who inspire us and hold us accountable.
And distancing ourselves from negativity.
Exactly.
It's about being intentional with our social and informational landscape.
Right. Step 5 is learn relentlessly.
I like that.
This one emphasizes continuous learning and growth through books, podcasts, mentorship, all that good stuff.
Yeah, our minds are our most powerful tools.
Absolutely. The script calls our mind our greatest weapon.
Wow.
And it's true. A mind that's engaged in learning is a powerful force.
It's how we adapt and evolve.
And finally, step 6 is do hard things.
Bring on the challenge.
Right. This one's about intentionally challenging ourselves.
Yeah.
Stepping outside our comfort zones, tackling tasks that feel intimidating.
Because that's where the real growth happens.
Exactly. Comfort zones are safe, but they're also limiting.
They can become cages.
Right. So pushing our boundaries is where we discover our true capabilities.
It's where we build resilience.
And uncover hidden strengths.
I'm ready to do some hard things.
Me too.
Yeah.
So after laying out these practical steps, the script then moves into this inspiring idea.
Okay.
The hero's journey starts with you.
I love that.
It's about flipping the narrative. We're not waiting to be rescued. We are the heroes of our own lives.
Right.
We're the ones who need to rise to the occasion.
Yeah.
And the script acknowledges that there will be challenges, setbacks, moments of self-doubt.
Of course, that's part of the journey.
But it's the persistence and the commitment to growth in the face of chaos that make us unstoppable.
So it's not about avoiding challenges. It's about learning from them, growing from them.
Exactly. And all of this culminates in this powerful personal declaration.
Okay.
I'm not waiting. I'm acting. I'm not hoping. I'm creating. No one is coming to save me, and that's okay, because I'm coming for me.
Wow. That's a statement.
It really encapsulates this whole idea of radical self-reliance.
It does. It's a declaration of independence from the expectation of external intervention.
Yeah, it's about owning your power.
And it's a commitment to taking action.
Exactly. So as we wrap up this deep dive into this thought-provoking script, the overarching message seems to be a wake-up call.
It is.
It's about recognizing that our lives are happening right now.
Yeah.
And every moment we spend waiting is a moment we could be building.
Right. And it leaves us with some big questions.
Yeah.
Are we choosing excuses or evolution? Fear or freedom?
Victimhood or victory?
These are the choices we face when we decide to own our lives.
They are. So at the end of the day, the core message is this.
Yeah.
No one is coming to save you. But that's not a bad thing.
No.
It's actually where your power lies.
Exactly. Because when you realize it's on you, that's when you truly step into your own strength.
And that's a pretty empowering thought to leave with.
It is. It really is.
So for all of you listening, what does it truly mean for you that no one is coming to save you?
Think about that.
Yeah. Sit with that question for a bit.
Because maybe that's the most valuable takeaway from all of this.
Maybe it is.
Maybe it is.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
We'll see you next time.
See ya.